Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us for episode 25 of This, That, and the Third. So, some traditions can unite us, right? Fostering a sense of belonging and experiences. But what happens when those traditions carry harm, whether seen or unseen? It's no secret that hazing has long been a part of the D9 culture, and its impact can leave lasting physical and emotional scars. So this is your boy Hook. I'm here with the homie Shannon, and
What's up?
today we're exploring the culture of hazing, the reasons it persists, and how we can shift towards healthier, more uplifting practices. So let's start the journey towards understanding and change. So Shannon, being a member of a D9 organization, what are
hmm
your thoughts on this topic?
I mean, I think hazing is absolutely unacceptable. But some of the statistics I was reading was like half of the people who have been hazed agree to being hazed or either don't know they have been hazed.
Hmm.
So it's unfortunate and kind of sad that you don't recognize that you're being hazed. It's so proliferated in the culture and what we do. And people just think, oh, that's normal. That's supposed to happen for me to be able to join these organizations that they don't even realize that they're being hazed. So I know my sorority takes it very seriously. It's absolutely not allowed, in any circumstances, and they train us extensively to make sure that it doesn't occur. So it's always amazing to me when I still see practices and organizations that don't seem to really preach against hazing. Um,
Totally. And
yeah.
and yeah, and I'll say that because I've been in Alpha, oh Lord, 20 plus years, right? And
hmm
the intake process for us has changed drastically. We started making changes when I was in school, but over the years it seems like there are always additional steps being taken to eradicate hazing. But I
hmm
mean, in all organizations, we do understand it still goes on, but should be a pretty interesting topic though. And we have some guests here who are going to help us with the conversation. So
hmm
if you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves, Phyllis, we'll start with you, and then Mello, if you'll tell the people about yourself.
Um, hey Hook, hey Shannon. My
Hey.
voice is a little scratchy because I'm getting over some pollen issues. But my name is Phyllis Smart, and I am a part of the organization called Delta Sigma Theta. And as I had been listening to Shannon speak about how the organization in itself doesn't agree with any type of hazing, I will concur with that. We do not agree with the hazings that have been going on. But as I began to look at it from a standpoint of trauma, I think a lot of this is comes from some sort of trauma that happened while some of the pledges are online and they haven't dealt with those under hidden issues. But I am a native of St. Helena Island, South Carolina, and
Okay.
I live now in Allendale, where I have a farm called Wellsprings, and so we're doing great things here in Allendale. And I look forward to this conversation because I think D9 has taken a hard hit in a lot of places. You know, they call us cults, and I defend it a different way. But I'm gonna wait for the conversation in itself to start, and then we can talk about it a little bit more.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you,
Mhm.
Phyllis. All right, Mello, what you got?
What's going on, everybody? I appreciate y'all for
Hey,
inviting
Ella.
me on this. Um, Mello, government name Ashley Bryan. I am too. My family's from St. Helena. I grew up in a small town called Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Moved to Allendale about 23, 24 years ago as a chemistry teacher and just fell in love with the country life and never left.
Okay.
Um, Four kids, wife. My daughter's a Delta. My son is the Bruz, and I'm the Bruz. Make it sci-fi.
All right. And it's funny you say that because you said I'm from Allendale obviously as well. Shannon has family in Allendale.
hmm
The funny thing
We're
is most
representing
people
the Allendale, ain't we?
right. Funny thing is most people are trying to leave Allendale, but Mello said he fell in love with it. So that's
Mm.
Man,
that.
I love it. I came to Spartanburg.
I
I
agree,
left
Mello. I
Allendale
love it
in
too.
2019 and came back
Yo, yo, yo.
in 2023. I came to Spartanburg to teach, but I miss my house. I miss my lodge brothers. So I moved back to that slow living, man. I love it.
Oh, you like that slow living? Okay.
I know, right?
Shout out to Allendale. You got them trail rides going on down there.
Them fans that.
Hey.
I know, right? And hey, Melo, appreciate that, man. And Ship, you just joined, man. What we're doing is we're just having you guys introduce yourselves. And I just lost him again.
Lost
So
him again.
yeah, I know. I'll bring him back on. But while he's trying to get logged in, we're gonna go ahead and get started, man. And I wanna open up the floor to everybody, so you don't have to wait a turn to answer. Just get in, wherever. The first question I want to ask is really a two-parter. The first thing is, how do you personally define hazing? And what feelings or memories does the word hazing bring up for you?
Let you go first, Miss Phyllis.
Well, I know you was gonna do that, Mello. I just knew you were gonna do it, and I'm over
Ladies first.
what's happening. When I think about hazing in itself, uh, I feel it's a mentality that has been developed through some of the D9. We've all had each organization have their own share of it, but I don't like it. I never did. Even when I came through Benedict College in '88. I pledged Delta way back then, and I think when my line pledged, we were coming out of the ages of hazing. A lot was going on at that time with all of the organizations, not just one. And so I can't really say that we experienced, you might get that hard look real good, and you might have got them in your face real good, but not as far as so many physical things. Um, I think hazing in itself has been taken out of context a lot, because you got a lot of people that are, you know, that is a mindset. If you kill if you kill my cat, I'm gonna kill your dog,
Mm.
type thing. And so guess what? That trauma happens, and so when you get the opportunity where you might can do it back, that's what you're going to do, because you haven't dealt with the traumatic part that has affected you. Um, I'm not exact. I know for right now, we were getting ready to do a D9 event at Denmark Tech and April 19th, but and Mello had invited him in the room to kind of be a part of it. But because of all the controversy that has gone around the young man that died, we decided that we might push it back, because, like I said, D9 get a hard hit. I'm tired of the purpose of the event was to show that, okay, we're not cults. I'm going to tell you what I use. People, we have different denominations, and everybody's bylaws and their churches are not the same. So are they cults and they keep secrets? And people say you can't say that about the church, but I'm not trying. What I'm trying to make them understand: every organization has its own bylaws that they want to keep. They want to do it a different way. Baptists do it a different way. Presbyterians do it a different way. The Catholics do it a different way. That don't make them cults. That just makes them different. So that's my take on it.
Absolutely. And to your point, Phyllis, because I think a lot of people who want D9 members to speak up on it, like they want to have like a tell-all, right? So I think that's their way of really wanting to know like the inner workings, but every organization has its secrets and things that only members of the organization should know. So that, I mean, that's with any organization though. So I mean, if that's what they're looking for, they're not going to get that. But when it comes to hazing, I mean, and I'm glad we're defining what hazing is to each of us. I think that for the most part, the majority of us do, definitely stand against hazing though. And Mello, what you got, man? Like, what do you think? Like, what's your personal definition of hazing, and what feelings or memories does that word bring up for you?
My personal definition of hazing is basically making somebody do something they don't want to do. All right. And if you look at it that way, I've been hazed my whole life. I'm not
Everybody hazing you. Everybody hazing you.
So, I mean, but I guess what we're talking about is the physical aspect of the hazing. And I don't believe in physical harm to any other human being.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 51 years old. If you'd have caught me about 30 years ago, I wasn't that nice of a guy that I am now. I was pretty rough on the rough side coming out of Charleston. But I've calmed down a lot, I've mellowed down a lot. So the hazing piece that America thinks that's going on in the D9, I mean, the unknown is a bitch. Excuse my French. But when you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what's going on in an organization, you start to speculate.
Right.
You know, you go with the rumors, but I know they got their behinds cut. Oh, I know they had to do this. I know they had to do that. But I know my organization, we we are totally against hazing to the point where we have to be certified to even be involved with breaking in a line. We
Mm-hmm.
have to attend classes. We have to take a test. We have to sign, and new members coming in sign affidavits, so they are aware of what hazing is. Um, I mean, we go above and beyond to make sure if we have a new guy coming in, this is what you cannot do, and we sign paperwork, and the brothers who are certified uh, to do this, they must be certified. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are gonna say what they're gonna say, and you know what happened to that young man at Southern. I mean, I pray for that young man, because I'm an educator, and I pray for that young man every day. I promise you, I do. He's on my mind, and it's. But I guarantee you, something was done. Well, we all know something was done that shouldn't have been done, but I can almost guarantee you that who did it wasn't certified to do it. If that
Absolutely.
makes sense. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, we're getting it, and those are the type of individuals, these organizations that are giving us a bad rap. Because to be honest with you, I love my friend. I mean, I've gotten so many opportunities from the friend, and I tell all of my kids that I've taught. I said, when you go to college, you find an organization that you're comfortable with. Of course, I push that purple and gold, but at the same time, if that's not what's in your heart, find something, because after college, that lifelong commitment, I mean, it's nothing in the world like it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and to your point, Mello, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm a member of a local, active member of a local chapter here, right? And like you said, there are certifications that we have to have before we can not just like bring in a line, but I mean to participate in intake activities.
Yes.
So if you haven't taken that course, if you're not certified, then you can't attend. And you know, there's you know what I mean. So and we're strict about that. Like if you like, you can be uh, a life member, right? You know what I'm saying? You can pay all your dues and everything, but if you're not certified with those courses, you simply can't attend, because we
And,
take strict measures to define what hazing is, what's not allowed, what is allowed. You know what I mean? And you know, and that's something that didn't always happen, but that tells you how serious it is. And also, what a lot of people who aren't in these organizations, the knowledge they have about hazing, they got from school days or the
Yeah.
watching the Burning Sands. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So they see that, and they take that as law. Like, oh man, see what they do, see what they did. I
Or
even
folk
had
legend,
this I
folklore.
had this one girl on some post. She wasn't even a member. She was like, well, y'all pledge your life to this organization. Don't y'all say Alpha Phi Alpha, the light of the world? I'm like, I ain't pledging my soul to no alpha. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No.
that has nothing to do with it. So if you're not a member, like you said, Mello, if you're not a member, all you can do is assume and speculate and think you know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And Shannon, what about you? Like, what do you think how do you define hazing?
Pretty much what Mello is saying. Someone being asked to do something that could cause them bodily harm or that they don't want to do. Um, People should have free will to do things that they feel are safe for themselves. So once you cross that line, I think that you're hazing or making them do something in the with a promise that doing that will help them get into the organization. That's hazing. Anything that comes in that framework is hazing. But listening to y'all talk, one thing that Phyllis said about them thinking that we're cults and things like that, you know, I thought they thought we were cults because they say we like Hook was saying we pledge allegiance to things that are not of God or of Christ. So they have these ideas because that's what people put in their head. I didn't know it was just about, you know, the fact that we have secrets that we don't want to share. You know, it's to me, it's like they think this because of this folklore, this imagined things that people have just made up over the years. And then hazing, the other thing that Mello was saying, we are trained, right? Like there are rules around us being a part of bringing new people into the sorority or into the fraternities. I think the problem is that even with the training, people who shouldn't be in the process are still getting in.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we fight that? Because I know my sorority, I mean, there's stuff they won't even tell me about the process if I'm not trained, you know, to be a part of the process. Like I just stuff I won't even know about. So how is that happening? I guess is my thing. How are people getting involved in the process that aren't trained to be in the process? And that is what we've set as a standard for our organizations.
I mean, it's honestly is relatively simple. You know what I'm saying? Like it's, you know, it, you know, because when you take intake is only a certain amount of time. Everybody has the dates, right? So those are like the officially designated times when we're going through and when we do certain things. But I mean, what are they doing the other days throughout the week? And you know, the days that they're, you know what I'm saying, like leading up to intake. We don't know what goes on.
Look, they tell us we can't even talk to them, and I believe them because I want my
right.
I
They
don't
say
talk to
it,
nobody.
but yeah, but a lot of people they don't necessarily stick to
But
that.
that's the part. That's the part
Yeah,
that I'm talking about.
yeah.
How is that happening? And is
And it
that a
seems
piece of
like
it that we need to address?
yeah, and it seems like all of us are really against hazing, right? But
Yeah.
so what I do know is when I was in school, right, as a being a member of any organization, the worst thing, the most insulting thing that you can be called is paper.
Paper, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
if there was a chapter that was notorious for not physically harming people, they'd be considered paper. And then it's like a stigma, you know, it's like a bad reputation.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's a paper chapter. And what happens is I know people who didn't necessarily go through anything that were members now. And because people called them paper, they decided to go back through the process to be harmed,
Yeah.
just so people wouldn't call them paper.
I
And
learned of that too.
yeah,
But
is
yeah.
it right? Absolutely not. Now, and I do want to ask you guys, right? And you can, I know this is going to be a tough one, so you can either answer it or not. It's really
You
up to
call
you.
me paper all day. I don't
But
care.
but have you ever witnessed or experienced hazing? And if you did, how did it impact your perspective on the organization?
Hook, before I answer that, I want to go back to something Shannon was saying concerning the intake process and how do you how are you able to tell who crazy from who not? That's exactly what it is. Because some of them bros or some of them girls could be a little crazy. But I just took a course and I became a certified trauma specialist to be able to identify trauma. And I'm going to speak on it so much because that is what you are kind of dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
But as being a certified trainer, I'm able to go into like law enforcement, the schools, and be able to train them on trauma. That is something that is going to have to be put in the process of intake because you're going to have to know mentally who you are dealing with. And some yeah, because I saw a line of deltas that just went over in Buford, and and I looked at the line and I just kept looking at it, and a lot of those graduate girls are older ladies, so that means they wanted to pledge ever since they were in college, so that could be
Mhm.
30, 40 years ago. Their
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
people at this point is totally different than it was 30, 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I think that is going to have to be something that is put in, because even the pledgees, they could have some mental issues going on. That's like I said, I have been doing the training now for about a couple months, and what I find is that people are just kind of saying, "What?" You know, I was traumatized, and they didn't even know it. Mello just said that he was beat his whole life. That was trauma. You
Right.
understand? And so, in the process of that, you got to know what you letting in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Richmond County just had 2,000 girls that came to a rush. That's a lot of. You got to really pick out of those girls in order
Right.
to get a decent line, because you don't want every type of craziness in your organization. But I believe that that is going to have to be something that is going to have to be added to intake, to be able to do some sort of assessment on the psyche, on the mind. So and then we I dated a
Yeah.
guy. I'm gonna say this part. I dated a guy while I was in school, and he was pledging, and he never really said if he was being hazed, but some of the definition of what Ashley just said, it is evident that he was, because he was always mentally tired. Uh, he never ever got a lot of sleep, and and he just you just kind of could see it now. But on my line, that didn't happen. We were just some little feisty girls, and so it didn't happen. But we had some big sisters that were just a little different. Some people don't always want to inflict on other people what was
Yeah.
inflicted. So yeah.
Yeah,
I,
my process was more about the sisterhood. Like I didn't have any incidents of hazing. But I did know of a young lady who um, got the same spill, that candidates get, that if you see hazing, if you feel like you've been hazed, report it. And lo and behold, right before the line started, they wanted to meet separately and meet without um, the people who were certified to bring them over. And I was extremely adamant about her about not doing it. And then there's always like a level of fear. They think if they don't do it, then you won't get in, right?
right.
But she didn't do it and she still got in. So, like, being able to make sure you educate people that you do not have to let this happen to you. You do not have to sit there and let someone make you do things that you aren't comfortable doing. You can report them. You can just say no. And you can still become a member of these organizations. But I think people think if they don't do it, they can't. They ain't gonna get in. They'll be paper, like you said. The trauma being called
Right.
paper.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I think
Exactly.
those are the narratives that we have to change. Because I mean, technically, I guess you can say I'm paper. I did grad chapter, and I was not hazed. But I had a lot of long nights, and I was just as worried about my process as anybody else. But I wasn't hazed.
Right.
You just had to learn the things you had to learn, and that took time. But it wasn't hazing. So I think just empowering people to know that they can say no is
Absolutely.
part of the issue.
Absolutely. And what about you, Mello? Is hazing something that you've witnessed or experienced? And if you did or didn't, how did it impact your perspective on the organization?
Well, I look at, my thing is the mental haze. The mental haze was my thing because I had to learn so much. And but I see hazing at every homecoming I go to, especially I'm talking about as far as out in the open with people. You got the younger people doing the cooking or yada yada woody woo. But as far as it being physical, people messed up, nah, I don't get down with that because I got too much to lose as a full grown man if something goes left. So I don't even put myself in that kind of situation to even have to experience that. Does it go on? It probably does. It probably does. But I mean, like Shannon said, I did grad chapter. I didn't do undergrad, and my fraternity, we live on four cards: manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. Uh, my first card is my manhood, so I stand on my one at all times. But I love the uplift part. I try to uplift people at all stages of life. I don't care where you are in life. Um, so my haze is a mental haze. I try to get people to the next level, if that makes sense. Um, but
It does.
yeah, I mean that's how I look at a haze. For me, is a mental haze. I don't deal with that physical aspect because I'm all about exercising the mind and uplifting that scholarship piece.
Absolutely. And like I And thank you guys for your responses. And like I said earlier, I've been an alpha for 26 years. And since I'm way past the statute of limitations, um, I've I've seen some things. I won't get into detail obviously, but I've seen some things that I knew just wasn't right. Um, I went through some things that I knew that wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? But I did it anyway. Now, to y'all point, I'm one of those ones. I always stood up for myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if something looked like it was going too far, or whatever the case is, it's like I'll say, hey, all right, chill a little bit, right? So with me, because like during the time that I was in school, I was a dean of pledges the entire time, and one thing I'm proud of is that under my watch, like I've never put my hands on anybody, like because I don't feel comfortable putting my hands on somebody who I'm one day going to call brother. It just to me it doesn't make sense, right? You know what I'm saying? Now I've seen other people do things, and if I didn't agree with it, I left. I walked out because I didn't want to have any parts of it. And now that I'm older, you know what I'm saying? Because like my nephew pledged alpha last year, so he's been an alpha for a year now. And like Blake Mello, like I didn't push him to pledge. I didn't even talk to him about Greek life until he came to me and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about pledging." I never said, "Yeah, you need to pledge alpha." I said, "Hey, if you're gonna pledge, like Mello said, make sure it's something that you really want to do. Don't do this simply because your uncle is an alpha, right?" Now, am I excited that he chose alpha? Absolutely. So I did. I was glad that he did that. But and I got to experience, him going through intake because again, I got that certification that I needed specifically for that reason. And he was nervous and scared and stuff like that. And I had to reassure him, like, look, nothing's gonna happen to you. And I'm like, listen, I'm your uncle. Do you really think I'm gonna let somebody do something to you that they ain't got no business? You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad I was there to kind of guide him through that. But I'm glad that we that as a whole, it seems like all of our organizations are taking these measures to make sure that it's you put an end to it. Now, does it still go on? Obviously, because the young man that was pledging Q, he stuff happened to him. But like Melo said, I guarantee you that the guy that actually did it, he wasn't certified. He probably did none of those things. He probably wasn't even active. You know what I'm saying? So that's just one of those. From my understanding, he wasn't even like going to school there. So I'm not about to go on the undergrad campus and mess with some undergrad, aspirants simply because
just for kicks. Just for kicks.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Exactly.
Now, how would you guys describe the line between tradition and harm when it comes to hazing? Because a lot of the stuff that they do, like that's not necessary to join the organization, right? And obviously, we all have rituals and things we got to do, but the majority of the stuff they're doing has absolutely nothing to do with the ritual. So, like, how do you describe the line between tradition and harm? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
It's
Go ahead,
I'm
Ashley.
sorry.
You good?
In my experience, it's tradition for neos to set out a hop. Now, to set out a hop means you have to learn the hop. Learn the hop, it means you have to be in shape because usually there's a probate show. So, I mean, tradition is you got to do some PT, some jumping jacks, some running to get yourself in shape. I mean, that's just tradition for my organization. Um, so I understand, and if you really think about it, yeah, that's a form of hazing when you're teaching them something. But I promise you, people don't look at it as hazing because I think the new people want to learn the new stuff so they can look good when they're out in the public. But if you really get down to it, that is a form of hazing also. I was reading the comments and someone put on there the process of the military. Well, the military, you got PT, you run, you jog, you do push-ups. I mean, and that's how I look at it for my organization. When the young boys want to learn the hops and want to get in the step shows, they got to be in shape. And of course, we make everybody get a physical before they even start the process anyway. That's just to cover your behinds. So
Absolutely.
Um, I agree with Mello as far as with the traditional part because all Deltas duck walk, and that's the part because I remember my cousin they're accused and they was like, oh, show me how to do the duck walk, and so that is something that we traditionally have to do. But I agree as well. It is not necessarily to do all those extra things to learn how to duck. Um, it is just like I said. I think from the female side of it, the biggest thing that I used to see when we had our line, if one of those girls had messed with one of those big sister boyfriends,
Yeah.
now that was a no. Because it was this one girl on my line, and it happened, and she just got ragged so horribly. And so I think sometimes when you think about pledging, you got to think about those things again because people wait to be able to get their own revenge back. But like I said, I enjoyed join when we pledged in the D9 in undergrad. It was a sisterhood. I can remember all of my line sisters and their names, and we've only lost one of them in the whole entire time because I pledged in '88. That was many moons ago. And so we've only lost one. We get together, we pray together, we do a lot of different things together still. So that means that bond was still there. I think that is something that is missing now because the process might be 4 weeks, 3 weeks, and then it's over. But we had a longer time bonded, and in that bonding, it's just nothing like it. The times we had, you didn't necessarily, if a big sister was in your face, you didn't cry for yourself. You cried for the girl next to you. So that means you began to feel with them, and you began to become one. And so that's the part that I think I pretty much enjoyed in the undergrad. And I think in this new generation, they're missing that bonding piece.
Absolutely. And what I will say, because to your point, my LB and I, because I went to USC Aiken, that's where I pledged at, and we always had small lines, so it was only two on my line, me and my LB, and if we hadn't pledged together, like we probably would never be friends, yeah, because we're polar opposites, so we knew some of the same people, but it's not like we hung out in the same circle, so we probably never would be friends. But now we're to the point where we were in each other's weddings, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's the brotherhood piece that a lot of people don't actually see. Now, and what I will say with all that, like with any type of, especially physical harm, it don't take all that, man. It does not take all that to be a part of an organization. It doesn't do all that just to, people bragging about I got scars from when I was online. I don't give a shit about that. Like I don't care about none of that. But most of the biggest perpetrators, then they ain't even active in the organization now. They the same ones who they be at homecoming. Yeah, they have on the letters, but after that, like they ain't paying dues. They don't go to no events. You know what I mean? For all intents and purposes, I mean, I consider that to be paper. You know what I mean? Which means you a member of that organization on paper alone, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Look, I ain't look at it from that standpoint.
I'm
Because I
telling you,
pay my dues and I do what I'm supposed to do. So you don't do nothing but still walk around with your letters on you, the real paper.
that's it. Now,
Going to, huh?
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say what Phyllis was saying. Phyllis had mentioned about feeling that sisterhood back in the day in undergrad. I did grad chapter and I still feel it. Like I had 96 line. It was 96 of us, 18 years ago, but 70% of us still talk to each other till today. People have moved away and we lost two of our line sisters, but other than that, like we still get together. We planned the trip next year to go on a cruise together. Like we still show each other love and support each other through life. It's
Yeah,
not just about the sororities. Like you
right.
gained 95 other sisters that day. Um, and that's the blessing of being a part of these organizations too, like the brotherhood and the sisterhood that you gain.
Yeah, and I think that's the piece that a lot of people, and that's why it's really disheartening when,
Hmm.
like again, like for the thing that happened to Caleb. You know, I like that hurt. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna make
It
it
did. It
because
did.
I'm a member of the D9. I'm like, God, you know what I'm saying? But after all that, you know, after I start to think about it, I'm like, it's about to be open season on us. So now people who
Yeah.
now all you see is posts saying that's why I didn't pledge, or they just
Mm-hmm.
Colts, and oh, you banish all of them. You know what I'm saying? And it's disheartening because we know what the organization stand for. You know what I'm saying? We know why we
Yeah.
doing why we made the decisions that we did. And I doubt that any of us regret any doing anything. You know what I'm
And
saying?
while we stay, while we haven't denounced, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, is it
Glad you.
is it is it perfect? Is it a utopia?
No.
No. No. Do you get along with everybody in your organization? No. Do you like everybody in your organization?
But
Absolutely
your
not.
household ain't perfect. Your
Right.
household
Right.
dysfunctional.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there they no organization is perfect. The church being one, that's why I'm glad Phyllis brought that up. There are a lot of things going on within the church, but because it's church,
Mm-hmm.
they tend to accept those things. You know what I'm saying? Like there are a lot of secrets and stuff going on in the church, but let a Greek organization want to have secrets now. Oh, all hell break loose. Like, oh, you know, see they're a cult, they're doing all these other things. And that's why I'm glad that we decided to come on and talk about it. So we need to let them know that we aren't like opposed to talk about it. Like we aren't like ashamed we're ashamed of the actions, but we aren't ashamed of being in these organizations. So I'm glad that each of us decided to come
Some
on and
of
talk.
us now. Don't say all of us, because I had a hard time trying to get persons to come on here and actually give a opinion or state a position on the fact that you don't agree with hazing, especially people who are part of our organizations. They did not want to address this topic at all.
Yeah, same thing, and that's one of the things. That's why people think we gatekeep because they like you don't want to talk
Mm-hmm.
about it. Like, what do you have? What is there to hide? It goes on. It happens. People are dying because of this. So obviously, it's something that happened. So you coming on and speaking out against it, I think that would do more benefit than harm. But I mean, hey,
Yeah, because I learned something I didn't know. I mean, I'm in my sorority. I know our business, right? I don't know you all's business. So to hear Mello and you both and you Hook talk about the fact that y'all have certified trainers as well. Like
mhm,
you all have processes and things set up where the sororities and fraternities are making the best possible effort to keep these things from occurring. Um,
absolutely.
but I didn't know that. So I learned something. So I think the conversations are good because you do learn that people are trying to keep these kind of things from happening. They do happen much less. However, it's life. Shit can happen that you don't expect or that you try to avert the risk against, right? And it doesn't mean that the organizations are bad because the organization is trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. And the only time that, because I don't get upset about a lot, but the only thing that really kind of pisses me off a little bit is when
Mm-hmm.
people who have no knowledge of these organizations, they're making these assertions and they're saying, you know what I mean, like calling us cults and telling us what we stand for, and you know what I mean, like you don't even know, like don't even and you know if you couldn't get in, just say that. It's okay. It's perfectly okay.
Stop it.
Everybody in there. You know what I'm saying? Now, and I
It,
do
it
want to
wasn't your time. Try again.
exactly, and
Yeah.
I do want to ask another question. And Mello, we'll start with you, and then Phyllis will kick it to you. Do you think there's enough
Hey, let me go second.
accountability within organizations to prevent hazing?
Let me go second. I'm checking in real quick.
Okay, all right, Phyllis, go ahead.
Say it again. I was going to ask you to repeat the question.
Yeah, sure. Do you think there's enough accountability within organizations to prevent hazing?
I believe that it is. Just like, uh, at one point, we didn't have certified people. You didn't have to be certified to take a line over. You would just put in the thing you will put in, and you didn't have to be certified. But now these organizations are taking the time to be able to put these things in place as far as to make sure that you're certified. Because guess what? When you sign that dotted line, that makes you accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Having the organizations are being made accountable. I agree wholeheartedly when you all were talking. Things happen everywhere. I
Mm-hmm.
always reference the movie The Shack. I love The Shack. Anytime I'm off, I watch it because it shows the grace of God. And when the man was in the cave and he had to choose between his children, he couldn't. And that's the same thing. God is not going to hold it against me because I joined a sorority.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to hold it against you because you joined a fraternity. That doesn't make us evil. That doesn't make us demonic. It,
Right.
you learn more public service in fraternities and sororities than you learn in a lot of churches. I'll just say that because I'm an evangelist in my church, and I think that for my church, I know that we teach public service all the time. We're public servants. We serve. But a lot of churches don't teach about serving. They teach about serving themselves. And so I just really don't see the difference. I have people that have denounced Delta and you're a witch and this and that, and that's their choice. And I won't try to take their choices from them. But then don't try to take mine away from me.
Mm-hmm.
I love the sisterhood because the sisterhood was good to me. I remember when I first got out of college and came back to Buford, my first teaching job, my principal was a soror. And she literally hired me because I was a soror. So you
Hey, man, them connections, girl. We ain't gonna be mad about them.
those
I done
connect.
use them myself.
Yeah, and so it's good to have a connection.
Yeah.
I told you all that I was a farmer. And so my son had went to South Carolina State for a semester. It just wasn't for him. He just went. But anyway, he went to South Carolina State. And when they found out I was a farmer, I was a part of their 1890. They found all that out. Oh, they was laying the red carpet out for him because I was a farmer. I was associated. And so that's just pretty much how it is. I agree. There's a bunch of people that are haters because they never got online. They didn't understand how you got online. I didn't get online and I did everything I was supposed to do. But again, that is choices, and the fact of having choices, that's choices and that's favor. And so they can't get mad. They just got to deal with it. That's why I told you that last line I saw, it was a lot of older women on that line. And you know how long that some of them probably had tried to pledge and couldn't,
Mm-hmm.
but
And
now
I'm,
I get it.
and I'm glad you mentioned that, Phyllis, because the fact is, like, when I went to school, I honestly can say that joining a fraternity was the furthest thing from my mind. I didn't go to school thinking, oh, honestly, the only thing I knew about fraternities is when I went to school. I'm from Allendale, now small town. All I knew is anybody that went to college from Allendale, when they came back home, they were Qs. That's that's all I knew. So I'm thinking that's the
That's
only
correct.
fraternity out there. You know what I'm saying? So
That's the
obviously,
same thing with Buford. All the
yeah, because I have plenty of friends, across all organizations, but I think I got most of my friends are Qs anyway, right? And
correct.
so when I went to school, I saw that with other organizations, like I researched them all. So it's like I went to the Q interest meeting, I went to the Cap interest meeting, I went to the Alpha because I don't know nothing about that. So I ultimately decided on Alpha. But for the reason, like what I'm saying, the reason a lot of people pledged, like with me, I didn't need friends because I had a whole bunch of friends.
Right.
B, I didn't need popularity because I was very popular on campus and I was involved in a lot of organizations. And so the way I went into it, any organization that I had interest in, getting me was a gift. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna bring a lot to your organization. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't need all that. So I didn't. A lot of people, they're like, well, I don't need friends like that. You ain't gonna beat my butt to be my friend. I'm like, ain't even about that. I'm like, now, what I will say, I think that a lot of people who either turn it back on the organization or participate in some of these illegal activities, maybe they did join for the wrong reasons. Maybe they did do it just to be a badge of honor, to wear letters, to stroll, to hop, do whatever. But I mean, I wasn't necessarily one of those people. And to Phyllis's point, as far as networking, at one of my old jobs, like this dude came in the interview. I didn't say anything to him. Like I just interviewed him. He didn't like I didn't have on any nail or anything, but he had on an alpha lapel pin, and I
Right.
hired him based on that alone. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
and that he didn't know that, but I mean, and after I didn't tell him that's why I hired him, but I introduced myself as I'm like, hey, I'm an alpha, and he was like, oh, okay. But that just goes to show you, you never know who's who. You know what I'm saying?
But
Exactly.
don't tell Trump. That's the real DEI. Don't tell
But look at it like this, Hook. It is a beautiful thing. It really is.
Mhm.
You know, that's why, you know, we wanted to do the D9 event because we wanted to show the beautiful thing. And
Mhm.
we're still going to do it. We just pushed it back some to get some of, you know, because people are looking for reasons to kind of take shots at the,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's why when these incidents happen, that's when they make it their business to, you know, say, hey, oh, see, this is what I'm talking about. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So they take that one isolated situations, but it happens far less than it actually does happen. But I mean, but it's just that those instances where it does happen, they're magnified. Now, Mello, you back with us?
Yeah, I'm back
Okay,
with
I bet. And the question on the table is: do you think that there's enough accountability within the organizations to prevent hazing?
yeah, I think it is. The frat that I hang around with are all professionals. Um, all professionals. We play golf. We hang out. Um, we preach. We talk. Um, I think there's enough accountability to prevent the hazing. I remember it was so funny you said that when you went to school that all you knew was cues. And when I went to Francis Marion, I never heard of a fraternity. I didn't know what a fraternity or a sorority was. So you go figure that. And I learned that college life. I mean, I watched a different world growing up, but I didn't know what they were called fraternities and sororities. You know what I'm saying? Um, but I think right now in 2025, there's enough accountability in these organizations where they should go in. I think every grad chapter should go in every undergrad chapter and get these guys or girls and train them on what they should be, on how to go about doing things the proper way. Because in 2025, it's too much technology and people are so crazy,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, that's my take.
Yeah,
I'm surprised to hear y'all say that y'all didn't want to be a part of fraternities early on, because I don't remember nothing else but wanting to be a Delta.
nah, it was
I don't remember nothing else. And y'all
pledge,
saying y'all can, yeah.
pledging was not even
Yeah,
on
I,
my radar.
I never heard. I didn't. I remember sitting down with my suite mates and they explaining to me the different
Yeah.
fraternities and sororities and the colors. Because as an 18-year-old coming, I grew up in Charleston. I just knew NWA and Ice Cube.
You was in
You
Chucks. You
know,
was in Chucks and some Dickies.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And I promise you, when I never even heard a Tommy Hilfiger when I went to
We don't do
school in
that.
'92.
Look,
I'm telling you, I'm being dead
look,
serious. So I was lost in the sauce. I knew khakis and white tees and white beaters.
Okay.
because
That's all I
Okay.
wore.
my roommate at the time, he came and there was a interest meeting. There was I think it may have been a Kappa interest meeting, right? And he said, "Hey, you want to join this?" I'm like, "What the hell is this?" You know what I'm saying? So I looked at it, and you know, it said interest meeting. So then I went to the interest meeting, right? And then they started talking about they mentioned the other organizations. I'm like, okay, so there are more organizations. You know what I'm saying? So then when the next interest meeting came, I went to that one, and I went to all of them. And that's when I observed them on campus, saw what they were doing. I'm like, this is okay. This is pretty cool. And then that's when I did research. Ultimately, I decided on Alpha, but I ain't gonna sit here and that like I didn't consider those other organizations because I didn't know anything about them, so I had to look into them, and that's why now like people think that organizations have beef or we're against each other. Like, nah, you know what I'm saying? Like, take somebody like Joe, me and Joe met at USC again, obviously. I helped him move in when he was a freshman. And we, you know what I mean? It was obviously, you know, I tried to get him to play at Alpha because that was my boy, but he pledged Kappa. And it's like, we were still cool. You know what I'm saying? That didn't change anything.
Yeah, we want to fight Joe for other reasons.
Yeah. No, but it was, you know what I'm saying? That's just one of those things where it's, you know, it's not even, it's even if it's a different organization, it's still a fraternity within a fraternity. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, my daughter does cheer. The other week we went to a competition. It was this Omega. And, you know, I had on my hoodie. I walked by him. He was like, well, at least you got the gold part, right? I'm like, well, damn, bro. Like, I was like,
Jokes.
but again, it's it's still all love. You know what I'm saying? And I think the people who aren't in these organizations, they have no idea of just how beautiful an experience it is.
Yeah. Yeah, because I have a coworker who's an AKA, and we go at it all day long, all day. I'll walk by with my Delta bag and be like, "Don't you love this? You wish you could have it, right?" And she'll come and say something off the wall to me, but it's all love. It's all love. Like, it's not any hatred. And I think people also thought that we wouldn't like each other, like people in the office, and we're like, "What you talking about?" Like,
Yeah.
I love her. Yeah.
I mean, shit. Even within my family, like. I was the first person to pledge a fraternity. We had an AKA beforehand, so it was for a long time we had just an AKA and Alpha. But now we got Alphas,
Everybody,
AKAs, SGROs, Sigmas,
Iota.
Cap. We ain't got no Iotas. We ain't got no Iotas, but we pretty much Zetas. We pretty much got the pan hell on lock. You know what I'm saying? But it's I ain't gonna sit here and be mad. I ain't gonna disown them because they didn't join my organization. You know what I'm saying? And this has been a great conversation, man. But I do want to ask y'all. I do have one final question I want to ask y'all. And so, two actually. The first being, what advice would you give to someone struggling with pressure to participate or tolerate hazing? Whether it's somebody who is going through the process and they feel like they have to go through hazing, or if it's someone who is like a dean or somebody who's bringing these guys in and they feel like they need to haze to teach them a lesson or to go through what they went through. Like, what advice would you give those people?
I would literally tell them, don't go through that, because when I pledged back in '88, it was $500, and it is many $500 now. Yeah. And if you're gonna put your
just a little bit more, just a little bit more,
just a little bit,
and if you're gonna put your many $500 together, I'm not going through that. I'm not going to allow it to happen. And people say, they talk about snitches get stitches. I would have to talk to someone. I promise you, because I'm not gonna literally go through that. But that's the 50-year-old talking. You understand? Back then, I think I was 19, 20 when I pledged. I don't know if I could be able to say that. And it, like I said, it's always gonna go back to that psyche, your mental, and what you will tolerate from what you will not tolerate. At 50, I'm not tolerating none of that. But at 19 and 20, I don't know. I was a little. My line name was Scrappy Doo. I was feisty back
Scrappy
then.
Doo. Okay. Wrap up.
I was feisty back then. And so right now I'm just an older feistiness. So that's all.
Yeah.
So, but I
feel like if I had any hazing, my line name would be hazing. But it served me well.
But
I had the most boring line name you can think of. Just boring.
What is it?
Knowledge. That's it. Just
oh god, yeah.
Ain't it?
Yeah. No judgment, but okay.
Like, come on, y'all. Come on. That's
and Milo, what about you? What advice would you give to someone who's struggling with the pressure?
I would tell them to seek help quick. I suffer from mental illness. I've been dealing with anxiety disorder for about 30 years. And I tell people, everybody's not built like me. At first, when I first was diagnosed with my anxiety disorder, it was a shocker because I grew up in Charleston. I'm hard. I'm that dude. But sometimes your mind is a chemical imbalance. So I seeked help. I didn't take medication until I became in my 40s. And I missed out on about 20-something years of life because I refused to get help. So as a grown-up now, I tell people, get help. Don't go through that. If you're feeling that kind of anxiety or pressure, it's not worth it. And if you do feel that anxiety or pressure, go seek help immediately. So
absolutely. Absolutely. And what about you, Shannon? Like, what do you like? What advice would you give someone struggling with that?
Struggling with someone that is struggling with whether or not to participate in hazing.
To
Um,
participate or to yeah, whether they're the hazer or the hazy.
I would tell people what Mel had mentioned a few segments ago. He mentioned that we're adults now. We have things to lose.
Hmm.
This is not just about pledging a sorority or fraternity. It's just one aspect of your life. It is not everything. You know, we have families, we have careers, we have goals, and just to make sure people understand and put that in perspective. If you participate and something happens, like what just happened at Southern, you could change your entire life and in the life of someone else. So is it worth it? Is it
And
worth it?
that's really that's what I was gonna say too, because whether if you're the person who is being hazed, a lot can happen. You know what I'm saying? You could
Mm-hmm.
be permanently disabled. You know what I mean? You could,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's so many bad things can happen if you're the hazer.
Oh, I think we lost Hook. Yeah. So what Hook was saying is that if just anything can happen if you are allowing yourself to be hazed. Okay, you
Yeah,
came back. There you go.
yeah, I know. The guy that hazed Caleb, right? I can imagine, like he's thinking right now, he should have never went to set that night. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like he never should have done any of that. So don't make a I guess a momentary decision that's gonna cause you a lifetime of anguish. Like it's
Lifetime.
yeah, you
Or
don't
take a life because
or take a life, right? Like how
and
you
that's
gonna
what
live
I was
with
saying.
yourself?
I think about that gentleman too, and even like you were saying, immediately when it happened, you feel for that young man and his family, but then you also are like, oh goodness, the D9, right? Like they it's gonna happen. So just avoiding putting yourself in a situation where you have to be a part of history in the negative way.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And again, thank you guys so much for your views. Again, this is a conversation that was long overdue. I certainly appreciate everybody's input. And before we peel out, we always like to give some final thoughts. So, you know, what's a lasting thought or something you want to leave the audience to ponder? And Phyllis, we'll start with you.
I think I'm being targeted first. But anyway, I'm gonna leave that right there.
He hazing you, girl. Don't
He hates in my
look.
mind.
Don't haze
He
my
hates in my
Anyway,
Sarah.
and, but I think my lasting thoughts will be because, like I said, when I heard it, I felt for the child, I felt for the family, and I felt for the people that literally did it.
Mhm.
Because I think if they had taken 10 steps back, that might have not have happened. And I know many times in their minds they wish, like you said, it didn't come that night. But we have to continue to educate people on the process of what D9 is. We can't allow people to constantly say that, oh, it's this, it's that. No, you don't have to sit there and argue with them all the time, but you have to um, defend your sorority or your fraternity. If you believe in it, I believe in Delta. I've seen too many good things come out of Delta in order to let one or two people be able to push us
Yeah.
to the 1945. That's not going to happen. So I believe we got to continuously educate. I believe, as I said, we have to deal with people that are having traumatic experiences, just like for 20 years, he lost a good bit of his life because he didn't even know what to do with it. And in the process of not knowing what to do with it, we have many people out there like that, the pledgees and the pledgers.
Hmm.
And so I think that we're going to have to put that mental health piece in place. And it's nothing but a conversation, just like we're having here. And so, again, I'm glad that, we decided to have the conversation because it starts with the conversation.
Mhm.
Absolutely. What you got, Mello?
well, first of all, I appreciate y'all bringing me on. As I told you earlier, I'm an educator, so I'm always in the schools. Um, those of you listening, take some time out, go volunteer at your local elementary, middle, and high schools. These kids are lacking guidance. These kids are lacking direction. Some of these kids are raising themselves, and they need to see more professional black individuals doing positive things. I wear a bow tie to work. Monday through Thursday, and I dress down on Fridays. And a lot of the kids, they don't know what a bow tie is. I show them how to tie a bow tie. And I just do it just for the presence of them seeing me in a bow tie Monday through Thursday and a pair of J's on Friday, because they don't understand how can I wear a pair of J's. I'm like,
You code switching on them. Okay.
yeah, code switching on them.
Okay.
So I just like for everybody, just take some time, because it's a lost generation out there, y'all. And we, as professional Black individuals and D9 organizations, have the power to make change. I
Absolutely.
promise you, many, many, many hands make light work.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I want to add this little piece.
Mhm.
In rural South Carolina, mental health has been taken out of our. Well, in Allendale, we don't have mental health at all, and so you might have one a couple times in a week with a large caseload. So we're going to have to fight legislation to be able to bring these type of services back into our rural. That's all I want to say.
Good deal. Thanks. I appreciate that. And Shannon, what you got, sis? What are your final?
Hey, my final word is easy. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Don't let it be done to you. Say no. That's all I got. I mean, it's a I'm not blaming anyone for it happening to them, but it is also up to you to make sure you protect yourself and realize when you're in a harmful situation and do everything you possibly can to get out of it. Not saying that always works for every situation, but if you can, whatever you can do, get out of it. Don't let it happen to you. Don't participate in it.
Absolutely. And what I'll say is, and I tell this to anybody, no matter what the organization is, no organization is worth your physical or mental well-being. It's just
You don't want
simply
this?
not worth it at all. So if you're, if something's being done to you, speak up. You know what I'm saying? And if you're thinking about doing something to somebody, don't do it. Just leave people alone. Like I've been in an organization long enough to know there are ways you can mess with people without messing with people. You know what I'm saying? Like, none of it has to be physical. Obviously, I know you want to wean out, who's really a part of your organization. But I mean, you do that during the interview process. So if you let somebody get past the interview, then obviously you think they're a solid candidate. But again, I appreciate everybody's insight, man. I wish we had more time. This has been a great conversation. So Mello, I appreciate you, brother. Keep doing everything you're doing, especially being an educator. Hold Allendale down. Why I ain't there, man? I know I ain't there. Go ahead and keep things that hold down there. Same thing with you, Phyllis. Same thing with you, Phyllis. I do see all that you're doing, and we certainly appreciate you, and I hope to work with you again, being a part of the Alumni Association. So we want to continue that network as well, but just continue being you, continue doing everything that you're doing. Shannon, as always, you already know how we know how we roll. And our next
so y'all do the cookout. Y'all.
I know, right?
Okay.
And our next podcast is going to be on Thursday, April 17th. So a couple weeks from today. Is going to be revolving around entrepreneurship.
Yes.
We know y'all
Show
president.
Me the money. Show me the money.
Y'all president out there tripping and passing laws daily. So we don't know what this economy is going to do. Yeah. So we're going to focus on entrepreneurs, and we're going to see how they're dealing with this fallout and how they're planning ahead for the future. But that's going to be on Thursday, April 17th, a couple weeks from tonight. So join us then. And again, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate y'all. So until next time, stay tuned, stay curious, and stay informed. We'll be seeing y'all.
All right.
Good night.
All right, y'all.